Let's go. Let's go. Welcome to Thomas's Comparison Driving Lounge, and we start here in the pure electric mode. That's of course cool, all silent. That's why you can appreciate the plug-in hybrid vehicles, and most of the time I would try to use these modes in the Volvos. Soon more to that why. But here, first of all, acceleration in the Volvo V90. We go to power, sporty driving. Now the combustion engine is also set on, and I can use maximum power both from the combustion engine and also from the electric motor. We start at 40 kilometers an hour, rear-wheel drive, then with electric, front-wheel drive combustion. Let's go. It's 150. And top speed, 180 kilometers an hour, 110 miles per hour. Electronically limited here at Volvo, and I mean, for most markets it doesn't make a big difference. For Germany, yeah, maybe a little, but that's totally fine with me. I don't need to raise a Volvo further. Here now at higher speeds, still good noise insulation, lane change at higher speeds. Yeah, the steering wheel is not that cool to control, so it doesn't give me the best connected driver and car feeling. It is very easy and soft to control, but again, not the best controlled feeling. And we have the air suspension here, optional air suspension at the rear axle. That is available for the V90, whereas it's not available for the V60, so that's a suspension difference. And indeed, the rear gives then a softer, more comfortable feeling. However, here at higher speeds, yeah, definitely the car says, yeah, I don't want to be raced, you know? So the maneuverability at these really high speeds, if you compare it then to a Mercedes E-Class, to the Audi A6 or to the BMW 5 Series, yeah, that's definitely worse. However, that's also not the goal of Volvo. Volvo rather wants this more sophisticated, rolling feeling safe due to the extensive assistance systems, safety systems, and the whole brand approach doesn't go in that sporty direction. And that's totally fine. Here when it's dark, you can see how it looks like with the screens and so on. More ambient lighting here would have been cooler, I think, definitely. Then setting the cruise control, either there's normal adaptive cruise control or there's the pilot assist. And when you have the pilot assist activated, then also here in a more complicated situation, the lane is being kept actively, and you see here so far a smooth process. I don't have to do anything basically, just keep my hands at the steering wheel just for safety precaution. And the pilot assist is really doing a good job, both then adaptive cruise control and also active lane assist at the same time, and I'm overall really happy with that. So now we're all electric, and as long as I keep it in a certain threshold here, you can see it in the instruments, it stays pure electric. Only if I do the kick down, then you hear that the combustion engine is hopping on. And yeah, people have been asking, is that good for the engine? No. No, that can't be good for the engine, that it suddenly is turned on and then giving full power. So no, definitely not. It's not that it's destroyed by that immediately, but of course, if you want to take care of your vehicle on the long run, yeah, probably try to avoid that. Then we have here the blind spot monitor. Really nice integration in the side mirror. So overall, as for the assistance systems, really well done. Not all of them are standard. A lot of them, for example, also the autonomous emergency brake, meanwhile it has to be mandatory, but Volvo even made it standard before it was mandatory by law. And then you can also upgrade then, for example, to this pilot assist, the more sophisticated system. And I'll stay now in the hybrid mode and see how the acceleration at high speed turns out here. That's 140 kilometers an hour. See here, even if you don't go to the sports driving mode, you can still get a decent acceleration just by kickdown. And if you go for the T6 models each, V90 and V60, they also have approximately same acceleration figure, so that doesn't make too much of a difference. The difference really V90 and V60 is, speaking now from this bigger perspective right here, this one feels a little bit more sovereign and, let's say, settled on the road because of the weight and also of the size, just when running straight. And that's, of course, when you have longer motorway journeys, of course, really cool and maybe gives you a little bit more comfort. I really like also the air suspension at the rear that also just gives you a little bit more dampening. I do feel a difference between rear axle and the front axle, definitely. It's not that it would be annoying all the time, but just when you have a lot of car experience, then you would notice that it's a little bit stiffer in the front and it's a little bit softer than in the rear. Now here on the brakes, they're actually finely tuned, so that's cool. So we can't expect the biggest performance here of these 2-liter 4-cylinder engines, and also, consumption-wise, they're not that good. They're really not that efficient. They're quite old. So engine-wise, not that good. Steering is also not the best connected feeling. These are my two flaws here for this vehicle. But on the other hand, good noise insulation, really sophisticated, comfortable, relaxing driving feeling, excellent seat form as for the ergonomics, and it's always such a, almost a relief driving this vehicle, and I really enjoy driving it, especially on longer road trips or something, because it just brings you so much comfort and really calms you down, and with the Scandinavian design, matte wood here and so on. So once again, a really cool experience. So my countryside driving here, and when we go in this slalom, it's somewhat okay. It doesn't feel too heavy or something. And when you're not at really higher speeds, it's also better from the steering. So this rather vague feeling is more at really high speeds. Here, still at like 70 kilometers an hour, like 40, 50 miles an hour. That's then still somewhat okay. But once again, I think we can live with that. Most markets where this car is sold, besides Germany, won't drive that fast with this car anyway. So I think that's also actually fine. So that was the V90. Really loved the experience. But now the question is really, how does the V60 perform in comparison, and which one should you go for? And with the V60 we'll start in a more agile way, because that's actually where we feel the difference. So when cornering here, beautiful roads we have for you here today, then you feel it's just a lighter car, it's a little bit smaller, and it's a little bit more fun and engaging to drive. In this case, of course, because we have this Polestar tuning, also the bigger wheels and the stiffer suspension, it feels even sportier for a V60, but it also counts for the general comparison V90 versus V60, that this one here is just more engaging to drive. Once again, if you compare it to the German premium manufacturers, they are more sporty in their orientation, and that's absolutely fine. Volvo doesn't have to do that. It's just that here the comparison V60 versus V90, you feel you have more driving fun here. Maybe a little bit less comfort, but that's also a big thing about the seating choice. So the overall seat form, the ergonomics is also quite good, but like once again, the sport seat here we have today in the V60 is the least comfortable one, both from the surface and from the seating form. The other ones actually do better as for the comfort. Really feeling at home here, that's also a thing of this vehicle. You start driving and immediately feel at home. And for a second, when you close your eyes, would you forget that you are in a V60 in comparison to the V90? I mean, the interior styling is somewhat different, but definitely it does deliver some kind of different driving feeling. The V90 more like, I'm calm, this is relaxing, let's go for a ride. The V60 is also that was a older cross-country one, really racing up the hill here. This one here also gives you a sophisticated driving feeling and also keeps you calm and collected and so on. but not as much as the V90, so that is the difference. But then on the other side, you get a little bit more engaging drive. And now some countryside driving, and I really enjoy doing that also in the electric mode. So when you have a charging possibility, it makes sense to go for the plug-in hybrid. But just when you have a charging possibility, otherwise, of course, it doesn't make too much sense, because when the battery is depleted, the consumption is more or less the same than with a comparable petrol engine for both vehicles, so some 7-8 liters on 100 kilometers, and that's on between 30 and 40 mpg. So once again, these engines here are not that efficient. That's why they are doing this electrification project for the whole Volvo brand, and the plug-in hybrids, of course, help you, really a lot to save some fuel. But once again, just when you can do the frequent recharging. Changing the temperature is a little bit hassle while driving here with this touch or with this sliding. You can also use the voice command. Set temperature to 22 degrees.
Temperature set to 20 degrees.
Okay, yeah, but you see, basically it works. So that would be one possibility to change the temperature without hitting anything there. What is really cool that the pure electric driving is still quite engaging. So when you hit the throttle, then you still can get some response. Just when you hit it too hard, then the combustion engine hops on again. That's the very same. So once again, the drivetrains here, V60 and V90, are totally comparable. Yeah, and especially here in these faster corners, countryside routes, I feel that the V60 is just more engaging to drive. So this is really the question: what is more important to you, driving fun or more this settled down, straight driving with the V90? So, and now we go to the performance mode. Once again, here in this case it's called Polestar Engineered, because we have this Polestar tuning here. And hey, don't I look super fancy here with the yellow seat belts, right? And we once again go from 40 kilometers an hour and accelerate it out. Here in this case, 1.5 seconds faster in the acceleration figure, 0 to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. If you would pick both T6 versions from the plug-in hybrids, from the recharge models, they would come closer definitely, but here it will be different. Let's find out. This passed, and let's go. And 180 kilometers an hour, 110 miles an hour. That was indeed way quicker. You could also scroll back and see at which point we reached that top speed. And here, of course, first time being the V60, it's just easier to maneuver it also at higher speeds. As for noise insulation, I have the feeling that the V90 was more silent. Or what would you say? You can also scroll back to the driving part with the V90 and then really compare it. But I feel that it's louder in here, definitely. However, with the V60, and then even more so with the sporty trim we have here today, just more collected on the road. The steering feeling is as wake as in the V90, so that's really not that good. Don't like the steering feel at all at higher speeds especially. But the overall feeling here in the V60 is a little bit sporty and more connected to the road if you compare it to the V90. Yeah, but then the question is really, which one do you prefer and which one is better for your driving style? I really enjoyed the more driving fun here in the V60. Yet again, it was also super relaxed in the V90. This will be a tough choice. Can I make up my mind finally? Or does it depend on where I'm using that vehicle? And now to our conclusion for today, Volvo V90 versus Volvo V60, the big Volvo estate comparison. Well, Volvo has been famous for the estates because they were so bulky and huge in the trunk. That's not the case anymore today. However, you still have enough luggage space, I think, no doubt. Styling wise, of course, you can pick different, more sophisticated or more sporty stylings. That's, doesn't depend on the very same model. Definitely the styling is more or less the same, especially front and the side. In the rear, the V60 just looks sleeker. The V90 looks a little bit bulkier. However, then also you have just more trunk length in the V90. That's the main difference than exterior length and also the length you have in the interior. The space on the rear bench doesn't differ too much. The front cockpit is also not too different. However, seating wise in the front, I do feel a little bit more comfortable in the V90. Driving wise is the biggest difference to me because the V90 just gives you a little bit more sophistication and running straight, just a little bit more comfortable, whereas the V60 there you feel less weight, a little bit more sportiness. However, Volvo in general is not set on a sporty tone. Maybe today a little bit with this Polestar styling, and then it also gets a little bit stiffer from suspension, also with bigger wheels and so on. But at the end of the day, the question is, which one should you go for? About 10,000 euros or dollars is the price difference. Entry price is around 40,000 to 50,000, then a little bit expensive, a little more expensive with the V90. Yeah, it's a tough question. Which vehicle I want to take home? I have to say I would rather go for a low-spec V90, get a decent price right there. If you are especially in the US market, have a little bit more space on the road and so on. In Europe, the V60 is just a little bit more practical as for the size. And there I would also go for a mid-trim V60 like a Momentum or Momentum Pro trim, get nice fabric seats, not spec it up too high because our test vehicle price is here for today. This is more than 80,000 euros. This is a little bit less than 90,000 euros. And of course, with so much extra equipment, that just gets too expensive, especially then for a V60. So, I have to say, in Europe then, mid-spec V60, in the US, low-spec V90. That's my choice for today. Which one is yours? Tell me in the comments, let's discuss it, and see you at our next comparison review.